Spring Town Hall meeting. I'm Michaeline Fowler with City of Sammamish Communications. I'm here today with our Chief of Police, Dan Pingray, and our Emergency Manager, Andrew Stevens. Thanks for joining us today. We had some questions from residents that we are going to go through and answer. And Andrew, we're going to start with you first. The first question is, what is the city doing about wildfire prevention, and what are our risks living in an area with heavy vegetation that gets quite dry during the summer?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. You're going to continue to see wildfire risk and hazards grow as you see some of the climate change happening, some of the west side starting to warm up, and you're starting to see some of these prolonged periods of drought and extreme heat. But some of the things that the city's actually doing to combat wildfire, the hazard, is we've expanded our capacity within Eastside Fire and Rescue. Right now, we're undergoing the process of creating a new position that was approved by Sammamish and our other agency partners to bring on another emergency management staff personnel who specifically focused on wildfire mitigation and planning. That individual is going to be working with our agency partners as well as myself on wildfire planning, prevention, and outreach, working with community partners, helping to develop fire adapted wildfire plans, as well as assess different vulnerabilities and actual structures and neighborhoods within our communities. At the same time, we're undergoing some emergency planning operations such as evacuation time estimate modeling that will provide us insight as to how long it will take certain aspects or certain neighborhoods or portions of the cities, or if we had to evacuate the entirety of the city in a crisis like a wildfire, what that realistically looks like, what the best options are for egress out of the city, depending on where the hazard is coming from, as well as if there's any contingencies that we can enact in time of crisis, such as opening new roads or barricades to help facilitate that emergency exit.
That's really good to know, Andrew. We did see that question quite a bit also on social media, so this is really good information to have. Is there anything else in emergency management that you want to speak about?
Yeah, absolutely. The city's actually got some pretty cool initiatives going on right now. They just purchased, it's really one of the first of its kind in the region, an earthquake simulator trailer. We actually brought this same trailer up for our preparedness fair a few years back, and it was a real hit with the population. We had about 1,000 people come through. Simulates about an 8.0, 8.5 magnitude earthquake, but only for a short duration. But we're going to rebrand this as an Eastside and Sammamish specific outreach tool. We're going to get it out to our partners. We're going to take it to our schools, take it to community events. Definitely this year and for many years to come. But it's kind of exciting because for the most part, people that haven't experienced an earthquake don't know what that's going to feel like. And when they do practice, duck, cover, and hold, it's done very notionally and they just kind of have to pretend. Here, they're actually going to be able to see and feel the ground moving and things falling off shelves. So it's a very fun kind of educational tool that opens a lot of people's eyes. But then that will come with preparedness, incentives and information for them to go home and start preparing themselves and their family for when an earthquake does actually hit Sammamish.
Yeah, real life learning there, right?
Absolutely.
I can't wait to try it. And so, Andrew, in addition to the wildfires, the earthquakes, and other emergencies that can happen in the city, you do have a lot of information on the city's website, right? Can you tell residents where they can find that information to help them better prepare?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the top of the website, as you click on the How Do I function or tab on the city's website, there's a link that says, How do I prepare for a disaster? And there, residents can find information such as a preparedness guide that will walk people through the steps on how to build a kit or how to build a family readiness plan, communications plans, and all the different steps and hazards that threaten us. We have a lot of people moving into the region from out of state or even out of country, so they may not be fully aware of all of the hazards facing Sammamish. So that's a great starting point is on that website. As well, you'll also find steps on how to prepare your neighborhood. So once you've kind of gone through the process of preparing yourselves and your family and your own household, how do you work with your neighbors and your community to actually come up with a plan? Because it is kind of in a big disaster, it does start at that local level because we won't have enough emergency response personnel to cover the entire city. We'll be dealing with the biggest problems first. And besides that, there's a lot of other hazard specific information. We see a lot of winter storms and severe weather and power outages in Sammamish. And there's plenty of resources on that website to help people out.
Good, because I know it's really helpful to prepare for these things, and I know we will continue to share those communications out with our residents too in our newsletter and our e-news and on social media as well. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us today. Any final words you have? Because I know you actually have another meeting you have to run off to, right?
No, that's fine. I just want to remind people if they do have questions or they do have concerns about emergency preparedness, they can always reach out to Eastside Fire or the city, and we'll get in contact with them to help address their concerns.
Great. Thank you again, Andrew.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Okay. Now, we are going to switch over to Chief Pingray is here to talk to us more about public safety. Thank you, Chief, for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Okay. So, Chief, the first question we have is about crime. What is the city doing to adjust to the uptick in crime? We've lived here for over 12 years and never once felt unsafe until recently. What are we doing to deter these criminals from coming into our city and committing crimes?
So, since the last town hall meeting that we had, unfortunately, we have seen an uptick in crime where I had mentioned before, that was probably my problem. I should have knocked on wood, that we had not seen the increase in crime that some of our neighboring jurisdictions had. Literally immediately after that, we've really seen an uptick in crime over the past month. Now, when I say an uptick in crime, we're specifically talking about car prowls, car theft, and burglaries, both commercial and residential. But for the most part, when it comes to residential, it's the garage. It's still considered a burglary. So I noticed in some of the questions that people had noted armed burglaries. We've only had, and I think this keeps being brought up, I say only, 2 is too many, but we had the 2 armed residential burglaries that took place several months ago.
And they were related as well.
And as noted, they were related and they were targeted. And the people involved in that have done that throughout the Puget Sound region. And those were the only 2 that have been identified and have occurred in the city of Sammamish. So when people start writing and talking about armed burglaries, that raises everybody's angst. We've had 2 that occurred several months ago. Those are the only 2 that we've had that at least have been reported and that we know of in the city of Sammamish this year. And those were very specific, targeted, related incidents. In regards to the other crime that's occurred, we've actually made 6 arrests since that last town hall meeting that we feel a couple of those suspects are related to multiple car prowls and incidents that have taken place in the city, but it's still occurring because unfortunately there are multiple suspects coming into the area and committing crime. And again, we continue to work on identifying those individuals that may or may not be involved. A lot of that identification comes as a direct result of our community calling 911 and allowing us to make contact and then identify if there are video, pictures, things that we can build on as far as developing a viable suspect. So, and that's part of what's helped us make the rest that we have made. So cannot emphasize enough that in addition to us being visible and out and about, in our neighborhoods, patrolling, our residents and community members calling 911 when they see and observe suspicious activity or things that don't look right. That's where we start to, and again, that sounds very simplistic, but it's also very real. That's what helps us make the biggest impact in catching criminals and deterring crime.
Mhm.
In addition to that, we have been working on, so we're working on having 2-person cars that have been going out at night in an overtime capacity, and also when we have our overlapping shifts, unmarked units, so that we are maybe not as visible to the criminals from a deterrent standpoint, but what we want to do is also catch them. So
Mhm.
being in the areas where we're aware of crime taking place, and then similar to what we're asking our residents to do, looking for suspicious activity to stop, make contact, and potentially prevent and or make contact with criminals that are committing crimes. We have heard, understand, and I completely agree that we need to have a mapping system, a crime reporting system that where people can see where crime is occurring, what types of crime is occurring. That helps answer a lot of the unknowns that people express in the social media text. And unfortunately, and I brought this up, the county, the sheriff's office has the mapping program and it hasn't been working. They are trying to create a simple program, but I believe that's going to take some time. Since the last meeting and since we've had the uptick in crime, I've been working with our local crime analyst who has done an amazing job of putting together some crime mapping for the officers. I see no reason that we can't, eliminate addresses, specific addresses, and those types of things, and do that on a weekly basis and be able to show people, on our current website of what's occurring. So that's the goal. It's very simple, but it's also very clear about what's happening. It's the same type of thing that our officers use, looking for various, MO of criminals or different types of activity that take place, suspect vehicle information, possible suspect information, and then they build on that as they go out and patrol and are visible in the area. So we'll be working very hard on trying to make sure that that's something that comes into play sooner than later.
Mhm. I know one of the things that we are actively working on a new website as well. So we're looking at how to integrate that better into the new website so residents can be able to easily get that information
Right.
as well.
And it really does need to be simple. There's something out there right now that is public facing. So our residents could actually get onto the King County Sheriff's Office website and look
Mhm.
at something for crimes reported in the city of Sammamish. It's a lot of detail, a lot of documentation, a lot of data, and ultimately you can get to a map that's very confusing and it's not easy to do. So if we can't do it, and I don't mean this in a bad way, if it's difficult and frustrating for us to do it, I think that it would be even more so for our residents, and that's not what we want to happen. So
Yeah, we want to make it easy.
right.
Yeah, for people to find the information they want, right? And so you mentioned just the basic tips, right, that we can give to residents, like the garage doors and everything. So I just wanted to point out as well that we have been doing some public safety tips and posting them to our YouTube channel. Your officers have been very kind and allowing me to video them out and about giving public safety tips. And so we've taken those videos and we've actually made a channel on the city's YouTube channel. We've made a playlist just about public safety tips. And so the residents can go there to see some of the tips that we do. Ask residents to follow to kind of help deter some of this crime, right?
Right, and it's just being aware of things. So, recently, I was contacted over the past weekend about Senior Assassin, which is a game that a lot of senior classes throughout the region are they're playing.
Mhm.
And all in good fun, but how they do it, and some take it very seriously, and dressing in black and crawling
Mhm.
around the yards to be able to, essentially tag a fellow senior, so they're out of the game. And so this becomes a concern where potentially homeowners could see somebody sneaking through a backyard or around a vehicle and maybe overreact, and that would be a problem when in this case, it could be part of the game. And or they're calling in a prowler, and then law enforcement is going to go out and make contact. So I appreciate, and again, this is where communication is key. I appreciated the phone call over the weekend from a concerned resident. And then we were able to work with you and get one of our sergeants to talk about it. And again, the main thing is, hey, FYI, this is something that's happening. So it doesn't mean you shouldn't still call, because it could be, it could be real crime, but be aware of it. And most important, one way you can help understand what's going on is talk to your senior student in
Yeah.
your household and find out if they're part of it, so that you can, make sure that you're aware. So um, this was good coming from a resident, letting us know. That allowed us to hopefully let other people know, communicate with their students, so that we don't have any issues. So the communication in reducing crime, having us be in the right area at the right time, and preventing, bad things from happening, issues from happening when it, is a a game, is important for us all to be making sure that we're communicating and talking.
Mhm. And like we said, the kids all know about it, right? So the adults can ask the kids what's going
Right.
on. Yeah. Okay, so switching gears a little bit, the next question is about the catalytic converters. Some police departments are offering engraving. What are contributing factors have led to the increase in crime, and what actions can residents take to best keep our city safe and keep criminals out of spam? It's kind of a similar question, but this one's really focused on those catalytic converters, and is there something that can be done around that?
So catalytic converters, obviously, it's a major issue, and it's kind of hot and cold. I mean, it's been an issue in the past as well,
Mhm.
and then it goes away for whatever reason, and then it becomes, another money-making opportunity for criminals. And which is part of why legislators have stepped up to try and, make it much more difficult for criminals to take the catalytic converters to the recycle locations, where they're then broken down for the value of the precious metals inside. That's what it's all said and done.
Yeah.
It is difficult. I mean, we obviously stop people that have them. We'll stop people that are suspicious, operating suspiciously in an area, and we'll find sawzalls and those types of things, which is what they use. And literally, they can get those things done in under 30 seconds.
Mhm.
They can cut these,
Yeah.
or whether it's copper, on the side of the road at a construction site, all those types of things. They can be in and out quickly. So it's difficult unless we get a phone call and a description to oftentimes catch someone in the act. We might catch someone driving away, we find the items, etc. Serial numbers can be beneficial in that arena, where if it's related, we check the serial number, it's documented, there's a database where we can locate it. We can put, correlate that to a specific residence. Now we have possession of stolen property. So there is value there, but it's after the fact. The best way to prevent it from happening is to get a complete shield, which some of the dealerships are doing, where they actually weld a shield, underneath, to prevent access to the catalytic converter. That's the best way to prevent them from being stolen. the serial numbers and after the fact. Still going to get stolen. Yes, maybe we can relate it and show someone's in possession of stolen property. And that's not always, and just the fact that they're in possession of stolen property, there's all kinds of pieces and parts in the rest of the criminal justice system that can make that even difficult. So the best way to prevent a very expensive replacement from occurring is to get a complete shield, check with your various auto shops and car dealers to see if they're doing that. So that's one of the best ways. And again, those questions still go back to what are we doing? Well, again, it's trying to make sure that we're communicating like this, making sure that we're giving prevention tips. Don't leave your keys in the car. Don't leave your garage doors open. I think there's something that you're looking at doing where, we're going to be doing a notification at night, like, is your garage door shut? Do you have your keys and your valuables out of your car? Is your vehicle locked? Are bicycles inside the garage as opposed to laying outside? So as we get into summer, that's going to be very important for people. It's a daily reminder. Hey, have you gone out and made sure that these things are done? Till it becomes habit, so that we can prevent crimes of opportunity. And usually that's what they're looking for. This goes back to the very beginning where I said people are concerned about an increase in armed burglaries. That's not the case. All right. But there is an increase in crimes of opportunity, which is open doors, open windows, unlocked vehicles, backpacks, wallets, computers, other items that have value left in vehicles or left in garages with open doors. And that is how we need to make it difficult. And then with the inclusion of multiple Ring cameras and other cameras and light bulb cameras that many people are adding, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It gives us additional tools and evidence that may lead to a specific individual or individuals that we can then charge.
Thanks for talking about that video, because we did shoot that video yesterday with Officer Martin. And it's 10 o'clock. Is your home secure and valuable secure for the night? And so we're going to publish that to our YouTube channel this week. So residents can check it out there. He provides some really great tips for making sure before you go to bed at night that your house and valuables are secure for the night.
And that's exciting to hear, because I think some people saw it, but Officer Martin is our newest U.S. citizen, just finished that. He's from Australia and went through that process. So we're very happy for him and his family. He's very excited to now be a dual citizen, but a U.S. citizen. So we congratulate him. Thank you for his service.
Yes, I was joking with him. Is he going to lose his accent now? And so there was a viral video on TikTok, of all places. I know it's one of your favorite places. It was it was shot locally. Someone actually filmed someone sawing off a catalytic converter off someone's car in a shopping center complex, and it went viral. Lots of people saw it. Is that something that you want people to actually call and turn over the video to you all instead of just posting it on TikTok?
So two things. One, that wasn't in Sammamish.
It was local in Issaquah.
Okay, I wanted to make sure, because I didn't know about it. I'm like, all right, this is the problem. We need to make sure. No. Yes, I mean, any and all video that we have of crime occurring being provided to your local law enforcement, we can then take that and again try to build upon that to find or potentially identify a suspect involved in one and or more crimes. So, and video really is one of, I mean, besides an eyewitness, video is phenomenal because it's pretty hard to deny what's occurring on the video. So we appreciate that. And again, it doesn't really do us a whole lot of good on TikTok. Find out about it after the fact or too long after the fact. And then you know, in this case, if it was, I don't know if it was the suspects videoing themselves doing it, or if this was, you know,
It was
concerned
actually, it was,
resident.
it was just a resident walking to their car.
Yeah.
And so they
And I hope that
videotaped
they
it.
did
Yeah.
pass that on, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I can't tell someone not to post it on TikTok, but I really hope that someone passed it on. More important, I would say, not more important, but just as important, when people observe those videos, wherever those might be, next door, etc., and they can identify those people, you can call us. You can call us anonymously, right? You can report anonymously, but that gives us another lead that potentially we can then build on to help prevent and reduce crime and identify subjects involved in that crime.
Mhm. And to your point, the video was less than 30 seconds, and that's how long it took them to get out of their car, saw it off, and get back in their car and go.
It takes no time at all. So the serial number can help us connect the dots, but a shield is what will
Mhm.
hopefully prevent that crime from occurring and a very expensive repair.
Mhm. And then also, we do a program that we use here in communications that allows us to be able to search for tags and anything that's happening that's tagged Sammamish and also our local communities. And so we are able to see this video, but there is sometimes a delay in us being able to get for it to come up into our feed from those tags. And so it is helpful if residents do see those things and record those things and still call the police and report it to the police first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we want to be able, so one of the things is, and a lot of departments and agencies are not responding necessarily to everything. There's a tendency to want to go with online reporting. What I will say is that's always an option, but our preference is to actually respond. We can give crime prevention tips. We might find evidence that the homeowner resident may not recognize is evidence. And it also gives us the chance to be visible, be in the neighborhood, and then, you know, our expectation of our officers is when you respond, you don't just respond to the victim, but you then go and make contact with the residents surrounding the victim's house. It helps people know what's going on, and that's where we find a lot of our video. So our preference is to respond. And again, people aren't comfortable with that. I respect that and appreciate it. And they can always do an online report, but often that takes a while for it to get to the powers that be so that we can respond appropriately and or, you know, especially if it's something that's happening, call 911. All right. It's
Yeah.
what truly is what it's there for.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that we're able to respond and then hopefully help. I mean, that's our goal, right? We want to, we're public servants. We want to
Yes.
serve. And so
Yes.
our goal is to serve. Part of that is even providing crime prevention tips, not just chasing after quote
Yeah.
bad guys, which I know people sometimes don't appreciate hearing, but you know, we're not just here to chase after criminals. We want to prevent it. We want to be engaged. By responding, those are opportunities.
Yeah. And that's one of the messages we really want to communicate out is the prevention side of it as well. You already answered the last question, and that was about the crime stats. And so that is something we're working on getting. You said before, it's not ideal right now. It's something we're working on getting, and we also working on getting it incorporate with the new website as well.
Right. And it's very, I've heard from many people, I understand and I completely agree that we should have a viable crime map available for our residents to understand what's happening. And I feel that a lot of the unknown or the comments regarding unknown crime or, you know, saying armed burglaries or all these other types of things would go away if people see, okay, we're not happy about the fact that there's 20 incidents that have occurred, but those 20 incidents are 15 car prowls, one stolen vehicle, and 3 burglaries or 4 burglaries.
Yeah.
None of that's good. We want to reduce it to 0, but helping people understand what is occurring in our area, I think is important. Now, we're not putting in there on a crime reporting map, we're not putting in 10 DVs, those types of things. It's never about embarrassing people or putting that type. It doesn't mean that crime report isn't available.
Yeah.
We do quarterly reports that we pass on to the city, but we're not going to put that on a crime map. We're going to focus on the property crime so people can see what's happening in that respect.
Yeah, and also because that's the public safety side of it as well. And so with that, we are going to update residents. We're going to communicate out once that is available, when it's on the website. And we will circle back around about that as well. Is there anything else that you want to end with? Because that is the last question that we had.
No, as the summer comes around, we'll be posting new things out there. Again, the kids were leaving their bikes out, all those little things. And then this isn't about crime. Again, this is about being engaged. We want to make sure that we're going to be providing marine safety tips.
Yeah.
We're going to be down at the docks, making sure people are being careful as they're driving on East Lake Sammamish, where parking gets tight. Lots of people going back and forth across the road to go down and enjoy the beaches. So it's just more of an awareness piece. We want to make sure that we're doing that. We're looking at getting more bikes and more officers trained in bicycle patrol. We're considering e-bikes, purchasing e-bikes in the next budget cycle so that we can take advantage of more effectively patrolling the entire East Lake Sammamish, bike trail, and also looking at some of the other bigger parks that aren't necessarily Sammamish, but the Sammamish residents, enter through Sammamish residents use it. We want to make sure that we're out and about there, ensuring that it's safe and that we can deter any issues that might occur out there as well.
Some of your officers actually are doing some swift water training this week. And so I'm actually going to go out and kind of talk to them and get some tips from them that we can share with residents. Because this is a season where the water is running really fast still and it's cold, but it's going to get hotter outside. So people want to go down to the river. So your officer is going to provide some tips with us this week as they're doing the training.
Right. And so those are Sammamish officers. It's our 3 school resource officers, which we really appreciate. Issaquah School District and Lake Washington School District, allowing them to get that training because the benefit is that the 3 of them are actively involved throughout the summer when they're not at school, being on Lake Sammamish, being at Pine Lake and Beaver Lake, which last year was the first time we've really been able to have more of that. And they're getting training in swiftwater rescue, which doesn't necessarily apply as far as rivers in the city of Sammamish, but they are going to be, the lead boat drivers. So we'll have much more visibility and marine patrol taking place again at Beaver Lake, Pine Lake, Lake Sammamish. A quicker response when they're working here in the event that we do have some kind of incident occurring on a lake. Hopefully no drownings, but difficulty issues, boats that are dead in the water, debris and things that can create problems for swimmers and boaters on our lakes. So again, they're all of our school resource officers, and we really do appreciate the school districts allowing them to do this training because so many of their students are active participants on the water in the summertime. And those relationships are huge. And so we really appreciate their cooperation, and our officers are very eager to be involved in that and enjoy it, and did a great job last year. So.
And that's one of the things we were talking about, because our residents here, we want to give them the tips to stay safe, when they're recreating, right? So even on the lakes here, or when they go elsewhere as well, in the rivers as well, because a lot of their students they see at the school are recreating out, and so we want to give them the tips to stay safe when they are out on the water. So that we're going to get those tips ready for them this week. So we'll start publishing that in the next couple weeks here.
Sounds great.
Um, Anything else that you have to share with us? That's real. Oh, and one of the things that you did point out as well is the locking the bikes up, and then also a lot of the car prowls are unlocked cars. So just those tips we already have on our YouTube channel about how to really help yourself keep your valuables safe.
Sounds great.
Mhm.
So,
All
well,
right.
appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining us today. And we always look forward to doing these and giving our residents good information.
So, well, thank you. And
Mhm.
I'm sure everyone's looking forward to nice, bright weather in the near future and we'll be able to see people outside. And please engage with our officers. They want to, I mean, this
Yeah.
is what it's all about, right? And
Yeah.
I'm encouraging them to be out and about and,
Mhm.
at a minimum, windows open and the days are nice, but my preference is that they're walking and they're talking or they're on bikes and ask them questions. That's how
Yeah.
I'll get better. So.
Yeah, well, that reminds me, we did actually just communicate about Officer Farley today as well. I know most people don't see him because he's nighttime. He does the DUI emphasis patrols, but he just completed an advanced collision class and got a perfect score. So we were very happy to share that with residents today.
Which is very difficult to do. That is a very intense training. So again, we want to have the training available to us. We don't want to have the incidents occur, but if there is major accident investigation, we work with the MAR, which is Major Action Reconstruction Team of the Sheriff's Office. But having someone that maybe an accident doesn't quite get there, but having someone with the ability to work at that level really helps the city and our residents if there are risks identified, and then we're able to address and make sure and communicate with the city. So that's it's a big deal, and excited that he did so well, and looking forward to taking advantage of his expertise if needed.
Yeah. I always think it's funny when he emails at 3 in the morning, then it reminds me, oh, that's right. He's the nighttime officer.
Yep, we are 24/7.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Chief, for joining us today.
Thanks much. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
You
Thanks.
too. Bye-bye. And that is, thank you for joining us for our Spring Town Hall. And we appreciate Andrew Stevens, our emergency manager, and our Chief of Police, Dan Pingray, answering residents' questions. Again, we will have another town hall this summer. We will ask residents again questions that you can submit, and we are always happy to answer those questions. We look forward to seeing you again this summer. Bye.